Saudi Arabia and Iran have never declared war with each other, but their proxy warfare has torn West Asia apart. The Saudi Iranian rivalry is a fight for influence, and the whole region is their battlefield. So when reports of secret Iranian-Saudi meetings emerged, the world was taken aback. Hello, and welcome to the West Asia Post with me, Ghadi Francis. This is our weekly show where we bring you all the latest updates from the world's most volatile region. Well, this week we tell you more about West Asia's Cold War, one that could be showing signs of cooling.
Conflicts are not new in West Asia. Since the dawn of the 20th century, the region has seen one conflict after the other. But among all the uprisings, deadly civil wars, and military insurgencies, two countries always seem to be involved: Saudi Arabia and Iran. This is the regional equivalent of a Cold War, the one that pitted the Soviet Union against the United States. Like those two countries, Saudi Arabia and Iran are formidable rivals. But instead of world dominance, they are fighting over the control of West Asia. The countries have a decades-long feud dating back to 1979. Saudi Arabia saw itself as the leader of the Muslim world, but this was challenged by the birth of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The revolution in Iran meant one thing: a different idea of what and how the Muslim world should be. Tehran and Riyadh never actually declared war on each other. Instead, they fight their battles indirectly, supporting opposing sides in conflicts. The two are engaged in proxy warfare, pulling strings within the borders of other countries. The rivalry is exacerbated by religious differences. Saudi Arabia is a leading Sunni power. Iran, on the other hand, is a Shiite nation. These are the two major sects of Islam, both battling for political dominance. The feud is intensified in the last 15 years. The 2003 US invasion of Iraq remains a focal point. Saddam Hussein, a Sunni Arab, held Iran off. His fall paved way for a Shia-dominated government, allowing Tehran to bolster its influence. The relations worsened considerably in 2016. Riyadh removed its diplomats after protesters attacked its embassy in Tehran. A consulate in Mashhad was also targeted. This was in retaliation for the kingdom's execution of a Shiite cleric. Those posts have remained closed ever since. And so, it is no surprise that the two can't see eye to eye, which is why talks of a secret meet caught everyone off guard. Reports claim that Iran and Saudi Arabia met, signaling a possible de-escalation following several decades of animosity. Sources say that the talks happened on the 9th of April. Both Riyadh and Tehran haven't confirmed these reports, but they haven't denied them either. Iran even went ahead to say it welcomes talks with Saudi. Many believe that Baghdad is brokering the talks. This is a significant step for Iraq. The country has ties with both the US and Iran and has often borne the brunt of the Saudi-Iran rivalry. While the talks are significant, the details remain sparse. Some claim that the Yemen war was discussed. Others say that the focus was the nuclear deal. There are even talks of a second round, even though no dates have been set. Saudi Arabia and Iran haven't talked since 2016. So the biggest question is, why now? The first is the war in Yemen. The country has been mired in conflict since 2014. The Saudi-backed government is battling the Houthis, a rebel group that is supported by Iran. So the two countries are on opposite sides here, and the battle has come down to one last frontier, the city of Marib. It is the last bastion of the government. If it falls, it could be the end of the coalition. And no one knows that better than MBS. The Crown Prince led Saudi troops into war in Yemen in 2015. It was a bombing campaign supposed to last only a few weeks. 6 years later, it still continues. Another key reason is the Biden administration. Joe Biden wants the war in Yemen to end, and unlike his predecessor Donald Trump, he is not making things easy for MBS. Saudi Arabia is looking to improve ties with Washington. The United States no longer supports the government in Yemen. Its current focus is to revive the historic 2015 nuclear deal. It is difficult to say what this meeting will mean for the region. Both countries face immense pressures at home. Sanctions are battering Iran's economy, while fluctuating oil prices are doing the same for Saudi Arabia. For years, Tehran and Riyadh have been engaged in a struggle, and the center of this war was ambition and influence. But it looks like their priorities have now shifted. While few expect quick results from these talks, this could be the beginning of a new dawn in West Asia. West Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
Like always, we will continue to bring you all the latest updates from the heart of the conflict. Don't go anywhere, we have a lot more lined up for today. But first, as usual, let's take a look at what else is making headlines across West Asia.
Jordan has released 16 people linked to a coup in the royal family that rattled the country. However, a member of the royal family and a former advisor to the king continue to remain in detention. King Abdullah said that he had asked officials to allow those involved in sedition to be reunited with their families for Ramzan. A Syrian surface-to-air missile exploded in southern Israel, triggering warning sirens in an area near the secretive Dimona nuclear reactor. In response, the Israeli military said that it attacked several missile batteries in Syria. Northwest Syria received its first batch of coronavirus vaccinations through the global vaccine sharing platform COVAX. The inoculation drive is set to start in the country by May 1st. This first delivery of COVID-19 vaccines includes almost 200,000 doses of the AstraZeneca shot. Iran is facing what looks like its worst wave of coronavirus surge till date. Videos show intubated people gasping for air at a Tehran hospital overrun by COVID-19 patients. Several top-level health centers are working at full capacity. Field hospitals are also being prepared in Tehran and other major cities. The United Arab Emirates has warned it could impose restrictions on people who have not been vaccinated against COVID-19. This comes as the UAE's business and tourism hub pushes its immunization campaign. The country has now vaccinated about 65% of its eligible population. Over 100 Palestinians have been injured in overnight clashes with Israeli police. Clashes broke out between Palestinians and the Israeli police amid a dispute over evening gatherings at Damascus Gate after Iftar. At least 20 police officers have also been injured in the clashes.
Palestinians are counting down to their elections. Scheduled to take place in May, the upcoming elections are already grappling with controversy, from talks of postponement to the growing influence of foreign players. Will Palestinians be able to exercise their right next month? Palestinians are counting down to elections, their first since 2006. Whether or not the vote takes place, scheduling elections was nothing short of remarkable. But it is a risky gambit.
If you ask anyone on the street, they'll say they wish for an election as long as the elected person takes care of us and meets our demands because we have been destroyed here.
Whichever party is elected, whether it is for the presidency or the legislative council, the important thing is that there will be elections, that the economic situation changes and improves the lives of everyone.
Palestinian politics has been in gridlock since Hamas gained parliamentary majority in 2006. Elections have been suspended here since then. The stalemate soon gave way to a divide. The Hamas controlled the Gaza Strip, while PLO clung to power in the West Bank. Palestinians have had ample time to address this. It has been a decade and a half since their last vote, but they have failed to reform the system. And now, amid the COVID-19 pandemic, they are scheduling yet another election. Mahmoud Abbas' announcement caught many by surprise. The veteran politician has an iron grip on power in West Bank. He last won a 4-year term in 2005 and then ended up extending it for 12 more years, a move to counter the rise of Hamas. So when the group welcomed this announcement, it was hardly a surprise for many.
Hamas welcomes the issuance of presidential decrees related to conducting legislative, presidential and national council elections. Hamas has worked for many months on preparing the national atmosphere in order for us to be in front of a real achievement for serious elections that will rearrange the Palestinian house. What is required now is to enter into a serious national dialogue in order to find all the necessary solutions for a real electoral process that expresses the will of our Palestinian people.
Polls suggest that Hamas could emerge victorious. Opinion polls indicate that Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh would beat Abbas if it came down to a head-to-head contest. Many respondents even demanded for Abbas' resignation. It is no secret that the election call wasn't a voluntary one. Many believe the Abraham Accords were the wake-up call. Palestine feared it was losing traction with the Arab world, and the authorities sprung into action. Others think that it was the mounting pressure from the West. Brussels and Washington both want PLO to regain legitimacy, and holding elections were the only way out. But the announcement hasn't been well received elsewhere. For Egypt and Jordan, it indicates a repeat of 2006, one that could have a destabilizing effect in the region. The East Jerusalem dispute could further delay the polls. According to an interim deal between Palestinians and Israelis, Palestinians residing in East Jerusalem took part in the last 3 elections. In February, Israel was informed of the decision to hold polls, but they have since responded with silence. East Jerusalem's 6,000 voters are unlikely to affect the outcome. But the move is about symbolism. If Israel doesn't allow polling there, authorities have threatened to cancel the vote. The legislative elections is set to take place on May 22. The presidential ones are scheduled for June 31. As voters register for the upcoming polls, Palestinians seem to have lost trust in the process. Neither a democratic transition nor a reformation of the political system can be expected.
As long as there is no reconciliation between Fatah and Hamas, elections are impossible, because if there were a reconciliation, there would be an understanding between the two parties. I believe that there will be no elections without reconciliation.
With no restrictions on Hamas participation and Abbas polling numbers flatlining, Palestine is heading for a repeat of 2006. West Asia is watching nervously, bracing for yet another power struggle. But for Palestinians, the elections mean all talk and no action. For 16 years, democracy here exists in a political vacuum, one that is unlikely to change anytime soon. West Asia Bureau, WION. World is one. The whole world is reeling under the coronavirus pandemic. Cases are surging and deaths are on the rise. But the Israelis are taking off their masks. How did Israel achieve this feat? And what does it mean for the world?
The masks are off. Israelis are going out barefaced. The country is returning back to normal. Israel has vaccinated its way out of the pandemic, flaunting a victory over the coronavirus.
To walk in the streets of Tel Aviv and seeing people's faces with smiles on, it's fun and makes me happy. Even now as we speak, it seems strange to me that we do not maintain a 2 meters distance. I really missed breathing air.
For the first time in a year, Israelis stepped out without masks. With over half the population fully vaccinated, masks are no longer required outdoors.
Being without a mask for the first time in a long time, it feels weird, but it's a very good weird. It's like being with the mask is like part of me for a really long time. So being without it is it's weird but good.
Just months ago, Israel had a soaring infection rate, clocking at least 10,000 cases per day. But Israel sent its case load tumbling with a vaccination plan like no other, rolling out the world's fastest inoculation drive.
Israel is once again ahead of the world, and Israel is once again leading the world in the battle against coronavirus.
Israel's vaccination plan was simple. Order the vaccines early, pay a lot, digitize distribution, and stretch the supply. In focus is the country's universal public healthcare system. It requires every resident to be covered by a healthcare maintenance organization. They are then connected to a nationwide digital network. This allows them to create data-driven outreach. Its relatively small population also plays a key role, but what was crucial is the early vaccine procurement. Israel cast a wide net for securing vaccines early on and even paid a premium for its vaccines. The deal was unique: vaccines in exchange for data. It included the promise of a quick rollout, one that could serve as a template for other places. Swift results meant that vaccine companies had data to study, essentially a win-win situation for both. Since December, Israel inoculated at a record pace. About 56% of the population has already received both jabs. Daily infections have fallen from 10,000 per day to nearly 100. Israel has even launched a second vaccination drive, this time for the country's children and adolescents. It plans to administer vaccines to 12 to 15-year-olds upon approval by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. While it is a success story like no other, Israel is still being cautious. New deadly variants could soon unravel its success, and no one knows that better than Israel. It is also buying an additional 16 million doses from both Moderna and Pfizer. This is for another vaccination campaign in about 6 months from now.
I reached an agreement with the heads of Pfizer and Moderna for the additional supply of 16 million doses of vaccine for Israel's citizens. We are preparing for another vaccination campaign in 6 months' time. Get your shoulders ready and your muscles, if you want, and also the kids, because we estimate that there will be approved vaccines by then for children.
Israel is currently leading the vaccination race, but the name of the game is patience. Relaxing too soon could be detrimental, but for now, masks off and smiles on for Israel. West Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
West Asia is marking the holy month of Ramadan, but Ramadan is breeding dread in crisis-hit Iraq. A decline in the buying power of the dinar and rising unemployment mean that half of Iraq is now relying on subsidies to break their fast. We tell you more.
It is the holy month of Ramzan, but Iraqis are full of dread. For them, the month signals a growing crisis. one that Iraq has been grappling with for quite some time.
I am among millions of Iraqis. I do not know how will I survive during this month because of the difficult economic situation. I have a family of 6 members, so how will I provide for them during this month with the increase of prices in the market? The situation is difficult.
A sharp rise in prices, the fall of the dinar's buying power and rising unemployment. Iraqis are struggling during the holy month. After fasting for the entire day, many of them rely on ration for food. Iraqis remain trapped in a vicious cycle. 16 million people live under poverty, and most of them depend on their ration cards. Subsidies have a long legacy in the country. When Saddam Hussein was under a stringent international embargo, households that earned less than $1,000 per month were entitled to basic provisions. They were available at subsidized prices. While the Iraqi PM had promised extra rations for the holy month, they haven't arrived yet.
I consume oil, sugar, flour, rice, and all these products are not included in the list of the state subsidized goods package. Previously, it used to distribute 8 or 9 items, while now it is only 2. And most likely, I will not receive anything and end up buying everything from the market.
On top of that, Iraqi's central bank has devalued its currency, a first for the country since the US-led invasion in 2003. The Iraqi dinar was devalued by over 20%. It is the first such reduction in exchange rate made in decades. The devaluation was in response to a severe liquidity crisis, one triggered by historically low oil prices and the pandemic.
The prices of tomatoes and all groceries have increased a lot. The gas cylinder cost 2,000 Iraqi dinars, and I do not have this amount of money.
While the devaluation could help the country, setting a new rate has been a delicate balancing act. On top of that, lockdowns and curfews have killed jobs, leaving Iraqis helpless and without basic necessities. As the country marks the holy month of Ramzan, many believe it is the poor who are paying the price in Iraq. West Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
Saudi Arabia's city of roses is in full bloom, and this time the harvest falls in the month of Ramadan. The harvest from Ta'if will make essential oil, one that will be used to clean the outer wall of the sacred Kaaba. Our next report brings you this story.
A vast landscape full of roses. Pockets of vibrant pink in the middle of the desert, and a fragrant scent in the air. This is the city of Taif in Saudi Arabia, also known as the City of Roses. Taif's pink roses have a sweet and strong aroma. Historically known as the Damascus flower, it is rich in soft petals. With approximately 300 million blooms every year, the city has more than 800 flower farms, many of which have opened their doors to visitors.
In both my farms, I have around 17,000 rose shrubs. The production of each plant varies each year, but on average, a season like last year's produces around 4 million roses.
Every spring, roses bloom in this western Saudi city, turning pockets of the vast desert landscape a fragrant pink. They are harvested for their essential oil, one used to cleanse the outer walls of the Kaaba in Mecca. Workers at the Bin Salman farm tend rose bushes, picking tens of thousands of flowers each day. They are used to produce rose water and oil. Both prized components in the cosmetic and culinary industries. This year, the harvest falls during Ramzan. While workers pick flowers in the fields, others labor in sheds, filling and weighing baskets by hand. The flowers are then boiled and distilled.
We start boiling roses on high heat until they're almost evaporated, and this takes around 30 minutes. After that, we lower the heat for around 15 to 30 minutes until the distilling process starts, which lasts for 8 hours.
Once the oil flows to the top of the glass jars, this is when the extraction process begins. The oil is extracted with a large syringe. It is then used to fill different sized vials. The smallest cost around $106.
The perfumed oil is popular among the millions of Muslims, those who visit the kingdom every year for pilgrimages.
As for rosewater, it is the prized product from Taif. As West Asia marks the holy month of Ramzan, this year's harvest is even more special for the city of roses. West Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
That's all we have for you on this episode of the West Asia Post. I will see you next week with a brand new lineup, bringing you more stories from the world's most volatile region. Until then, stay home and stay safe. I am Ghadi Francis, and you're watching WION. World is One.